Hi, I'm Jason Sullivan of Rathbone Group. In this video, we'll discuss how an error and omissions policy may save the day on your subrogation claim. Error and omissions coverage is usually insurance provided to professionals, insurance agents, or other individuals who, if they make a mistake, someone may be damaged or harmed in terms of the amount of coverage that they have. Let's say that you have a daughter. She's just turned 16, super excited, gives her driver's license. You call your agent up and you say, look, she's driving now. I know I'm going to take a hit on my premium, but I need to add her to my policy. Your agent says, great, no problem. We'll get this taken care of for you right away. You think nothing of it. She drives for months and months and months with no issue until one day she gets into an accident and it's her fault. You go to submit a claim and suddenly you find out she's not a covered driver under your policy and she's not going to be covered by that insurance company. You say, well, wait, I called it into my agent. I thought this was all taken care of. And your agent made a mistake. Maybe they got busy, maybe they forgot, maybe they checked the wrong box on some form that they had to submit. You don't really know, but you know you don't have coverage. That's where the agent's error and omissions policy may come into play. They made a mistake, and now you're on the hook for damages that aren't covered under your policy that should have been covered under your policy. That error and omission policy would step in and take care of that. So instead of having you or your daughter liable for that loss, the agent's insurance company is going to step in and act as though they were the issuing policy and cover that full loss. I recently had a case for a client where they paid out over $250,000 in uninsured motorist benefits. Their insured was in a horrible accident with a tractor trailer, a commercial vehicle operating in business. Now, this commercial carrier, they forgot to add a new truck to their policy, and so their liability carrier was denying coverage for the loss. That's why my client paid out under the uninsured motorist benefit. But we pressed this company. We went after them and said, look, you guys are responsible. And that motivated them to push a little harder. And it turns out that actually their agent had made a mistake. What mistake that was, I'm not really sure. But one day I get a call from an error and omissions carrier, and they want to get the claim resolved. Great news is, client was taken care of and everything was paid back. But if we would have just let that case go, we never would have found that additional coverage in that mistake. So instead of just being stuck with an uninsured carrier or uninsured motorist case against a small trucking company with little to no assets, we're able to reach into and get that error and omissions policy to pay. There are a couple of important things to note, though. The first issue to note from this case is if my client would have just walked away and said, this is a small trucking company, we're never going to collect, they never would have pushed that company to then pursue further and find out why there was no coverage. It's always good to push that a little bit further and try and ask those questions. The second thing to note is you're not going to have all of the information. As I said, I don't really know why that agent had made a mistake, what they failed to do. But they did fail to do it. And ultimately, I don't really care so long as that error and omissions policy does kick in. And the third thing to note, and this is related, is as an insurance carrier or third party with a subrogation claim against a tortfeasor, you're not going to have a direct cause of action against that error and omissions policy. You, as the third party, you're not a party to that contract, and you're probably not even a third-party beneficiary under the law. Rather, that third-party beneficiary would be the tortfeasor, and he's the benefit of that third-party contract between the error and omission policy and the agent. So you can't just go around suing agents or their underwriting companies, the error and omission policy, for coverage on these cases. You really have to push what may be an uninsured or underinsured tortfeasor who has a denial of coverage to push them to then make that claim and push it further. For On Subrogation, I'm Jason Sullivan of Rathbone Group, and that's the long and short of it.